Welcome and good morning to all of you here in our current sanctuary. The Metro East Unitarian Universalist Congregation has been sharing space with the Masonic Lodge for, well, a year and a half now, over a year and a half. Greetings to those watching this service remotely. And I want to give a special welcome to a former minister of Alton, First Unitarian Church of Alton, who now serves in Elliott Chapel and made the drive across the river. And it's always longer from there to here, always. Okay. This is a welcoming religious community, and we are so glad you are here. I am Allison Lamoth, and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm delighted to welcome you all here today. It is so good to see you all here, whether new friends, longtime members, or returning folks, and I hope that you will all take the time in coffee hour, which is also potluck today, to reach out to someone new and say hello and offer them a welcome. We welcome everyone to this home of comfort, spirit, justice, and hope. We are Unitarian Universalists. And now we will be listening to the prelude.
We come from the fire, living in the fire, go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water, go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living on the mountain, go back to the mountain, turn the world around. Oh, so is life, so is life. Whoa, so is life, so is life. Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? See we one another, hear me. Do we know who we are? Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? See we one another clearly, do you know who we are? See we one another clearly, see we one another clearly, do you know who we are? Oh, so is life, so is life. Oh, so is life, so is life. Water make the river, river wash the mountain, fire make the sunlight turn the world around. Heart is of the river, body is the mountain, spirit is the sunlight, turn the world around. We are of the spirit, truly of the spirit, only can the spirit turn the world around. Oh, so is life, so is life. Whoa, so is life, so is life. Whoa, so is life, so is life. Whoa, so is life, so is life.
Woo. I'm sorry I didn't ask you to stand up or at least sway for that one. I do feel like that was not supposed to be taken sitting down. It was not intended to be that way. We're about to light the chalice, and we like to have young people do that for us so that we don't have to embarrass ourselves when we don't know how to make it work. Is there a young person who would like to light the chalice? Or a young at heart? Oh, Ramona. Okay, have you done this one before? I have one like this for our camper. It's kind of cool. So you turn it like that, and then you push it, and you're going to get a spark. You've got to get that right over the wick, okay? All right, here we go. An important ritual. Ta-da, you got it. right, and now we turn it up. You got it. She knows how this works. She's a young person. An important ritual in the Unitarian Universalist faith is the lighting of our chalice. Unitarian Universalists have many different interpretations of the flaming chalice, including the light of reason, the warmth of community, and the flame of hope. If you are watching elsewhere and have a chalice or candle, please light it now as we all join in saying the unison words projected on the screen. In the presence of this fire, we hear the voice of our God, of our goddess, of our holy. You are on sacred ground. In the presence of the flame, in me, in you, in us, moving, resting, gathering, we are on sacred ground. In the presence of this fire, we are compelled to take up a torch, to carry a flame, to seek a sacred ground. In the presence of the spark, we are committed to light the fire of passion, of life, of holy work, to journey towards truth on sacred ground.
Let us begin in a spirit of prayer or meditation, in a posture to receive these words, to let them move through this space together. Spirit of light, radiate from the desperate places. Mend us and mold us to be the people who follow the light and stand in the shadow places. Guide us as we are transformed by being lovers of justice, workers of healing, and courageous with our love. Help us remember when we move out of our own bounds, and send us signals to return to ourselves again. When we are at odds with one another, entice us to see a different way forward. Like a phoenix up from the ashes, let us rise again to remember that we are the love we seek. We can be the movers and shakers of justice in a loved world. May it be. Amen. Welcome. I invite you to take a moment to greet someone you don't know as well this morning and make a new connection with someone. And we have potluck after, so maybe just say, hey, do you want to sit together over some food later? And then we will look at the projection on the wall or the gray hymnal for number 303. So, where'd it go? It is our tradition here at Metro East UU congregation to place each service within the larger values that we as Unitarian Universalists hold dear. This week, we lift up the values of interdependence and justice. And this week again, I am choosing to do a little meditation, a little grounding in these kinds of values, to have a little bit of a vision of that inward spark that connects to these values. So I invite you to ground, to maybe find your way into your seat as that is comfortable, maybe wiggling your toes, connecting to the ground, to be grounded in this moment. And maybe notice your breath. See if it goes just to the chest or maybe to the belly. How deep is your breath? Can you listen to it as it is, not changing anything? Allowing your mind and your thoughts to calm, to come into the body, to come into this present moment. To notice how we are all breathing in this moment. We're breathing in one breath, allowing it to move through the little parts of our bodies and bringing nourishment and oxygen in and letting it go out. Rooted in a respect. It has its own rhythm, its own knowing, its own invitation. And allowing its rhythm to be what it is. And we may hear and listen to the breath of our neighbor or to the winds outside, maybe noticing the vibration of the air conditioning, noticing the current of energy that is wafting through this place, outside of this place. The coolness of the air inside of this room, maybe the heat outside, being warmed by the sun already. That heat and that cool are both true, are both connected. Maybe giving thanks to the energy that we share. Maybe giving thanks to the sun for warming the places that bear the fruit, that nourish our bodies. Becoming aware of how this movement of energy is a part of us, and we are a part of it. Noticing the ways that our minds may have already drifted, and coming back to the breath and the body, to this moment, to this place. Here we are together again. So coming out of the place of meditation, maybe wiggling our toes, blinking our eyes open, we can know again this place of the rhythms, of the energies that bind us, that create the common ground that we don't even consciously realize all the time. That is holding us to. And in this meditative space, I want to read the grounding text, the grounding principle of today. And it is, conflict is the spirit of the relationship asking itself to deepen. I'm going to read that again. Conflict is the spirit of the relationship asking itself to deepen. So much so, we sometimes see conflict or anger as something bad, as something to be suppressed. And actually, it can be a sign that maybe the commitments to the common ground, the commitments to a relationship, to being at one with each other, is actually the goal, is actually the guiding way that conflict can be seen, that it's asking itself to be a deeper thing. So in that way, and in that meditation, as part of our weekly worship service, we take time for the expression of joys and concerns or sorrows. Home for us means a place where we can each share things that weigh our souls down or that fill us with joy, and where those we love surround us in good times and in turmoil. If you would like to recognize a joy or a sorrow or a milestone, you can come forward and place a stone or several stones in the water bowl to represent your joys and sorrows. There are stones here up front, and I invite you now to come forward down this aisle and then across and go back to your seat this way, and place a stone in the water, a symbol of what you carry in your heart. And so if you're not able to do this jaunt for any reason, just raise a hand and someone will place a stone in for you. Because in this place we bear one another's burdens and share each other's cares. Let us be in the spirit of prayer and meditation. So now is a time for all ages, and I was wondering, we're all gonna do this together, okay? of a video today, I was wondering if we could feel some feelings together and just practice in our bodies what it feels like to feel some feelings. So as you're sitting there, oh.
Is the second microphone up there on the podium?
I can get crazy.
However, Eden did not bring a red cardigan.
I did not.
Or a cardigan.
I might have one in my car.
That you usually wear.
Ooh. Okay.
Eden is dangerous now.
Thank you for doing that. I now know how to turn these on. So we are going to feel our feelings together and just practice what it feels like to, co-regulate, one might say, but also to feel together. So one of the feelings is this question: what do you do with the mad that you feel? So what does anger look like? Can anyone show me? Maybe it's, do you get stompy? Sometimes I get stompy. Can we stomp our feet a little bit? Can we maybe how does it feel to maybe hold our hands a little, feel some of that pressure, and some of that anger in our eyebrows. Ugh. And so we can be a little silly about it, right? And that's okay. It's arising in us. And then what does happy look like? What does that look like to us? What can somebody model for me? What is? I see some smiles. Yeah, I see nodding some heads. Yeah, lifting our arms, celebrating. So.
Come this way in front of me. Stand in front of me.
Okay. Great. I know now. Great.
You can go to the chair.
Okay. Well. Great. What does confused look like? Yes. What does that ease look like? What is ease? What does that feel like in our bodies? Maybe a sigh. Yeah. Maybe a little relaxing our shoulders a little bit. Yeah. And one more. Can someone name one more emotion? We've done happy, mad. Have we done sad? Sad. Yes. What does sad look like? What is that? What does that energy look like in your body? Yeah, kind of like a pouty, kind of going in, closed off heart space. Yeah. And now let's end on another. What is yes?
That one is overwhelmed/exhausted.
Overwhelmed/exhausted. That's yeah. So that might be a little of that sad, a little of the sighs, maybe, but a little maybe of the I feel like the energy in my frontal lobe, I feel a lot of tension. Yeah. Fearful. Yeah. Oh, what is afraid? Yeah. Okay, let's end on a silly one. What does it feel like to be whimsical? A little silly. A little sigh. Thank you. So as we end, I wanted to end. Yes, on reading Mr. Rogers. So if you don't know Mr. Rogers, he was on TV for a little while, and loved to talk to kids about their feelings and about how to regulate and how to be with them. And when he was going to Congress to ask for money to fund his program and his ministry, he was ordained Presbyterian minister to be Mr. Rogers, if you didn't know that. And he read this on the Senate or Congress. He read it on the floor. This song that he usually sings, but I'm going to read it. And it says, "What do you do with the mad that you feel? When you feel so mad you could bite. When the world seems oh so wrong and nothing you do seems very right. What do you do? Do you punch a bag? Do you pound some clay or some dough? Do you round up some friends for a game of tag or see how fast you go? It's great to be able to stop when you've planned something that's wrong and be able to do something else instead and think this song. I can stop when I want to. I can stop when I wish. I can stop anytime. And what a good feeling to feel like this and to know that that feeling is really mine. Know that there's something deep inside that helps us become what we can. For a girl can be someday a woman, and a boy can someday be a man. And we can forgive him for his binary thinking. So with that, and when he read that, he got millions of dollars, and it changed the hearts of what could be possible in early education, early childhood education, thinking that this question, what do we do with our feelings? How do we be with them and metabolize them in ways that mean that we can still be together and not be apart in that way, and apart from ourselves? So with that, we are going to transition away from the walking mic. I did it. Our next hymn is in the Teal Hymnal, 1012, When I Am Frighted. Yes.
Smiley faces and emojis.
We should have done that one. Shall So we are under a heat warning yet again. It is getting hotter. Blanket statement. But it is hot outside, and part of this is, climate change. We understand that, and I wonder if it's an opportunity to invite in some of the wisdom of this heat, of this hotness. It is hard to move. It's a lot to be outside, and I wonder, with the wisdom of the earth, that the earth maybe can become our teacher, and the sun and the relationship of this energy. And, pulling on some of our pagan traditions that tune into this seasonal aspects of the teachings of our earth and our connection to the solar system and to the universe, really. There is an understanding that we are in the time of the Leo. We are in this new space of the sun as a ruling energy for Leo. Leo is understood to be the courageous leader, to be a symbol of a lion, like a roar. And I wonder, in this time of polarity, if we can bring in maybe some of these energies and some of these archetypes to help us understand something anew, to really feel connected to the different rhythms of summer, of heat, of these things as they are happening over time, and to maybe use it in a different way. So over the next month, we are in this time of the Leo. There's a new moon this past Thursday, and it can be used as a symbol and as an energy. So what does this mean, this kind of alchemy of heat? I wanted to focus on this idea of alchemy, this idea that comes to us from many different traditions and cultures, most of them having to do at the turn of the 1st, 2nd century. And in Egypt, there was this cult or tribe associated with the devotion to the sun god of Ra. And though none of the other alchemists, no, that's not where I was going. Sorry, I lost my place. So in the symbol of the heat, there is this idea of alchemy, but there's also this idea of the phoenix. And both of these symbols of ancient understanding and consciousness coming from Egypt, but there's also Chinese and different ancestral lineages of understanding alchemy and understanding the way that heat can be, and fire can actually be a place of womb or water or rebirth. And those polarities are actually united in playing with some of these dualities that it is not. I mean, in this space we have AC, but it is hot outside. That usually wasn't a thing in the past cultures. It was just hot, and that hot and cold, and that seeking between the seasons in places that experience seasons was desperate, was different. And so like a phoenix rising from an ashes. This concept was from Egypt, and it's associated with those devoted to the sun god Ra. And though none of the other phoenix-like birds are associated with fire, these elements of its powers are still present in the current lexicon. Even in Chinese mythology, the bird symbol is seen as a union of that yin and yang, like I was talking about. So which leads us into these kind of polarizing understandings, these two very different, of hot and cold opposites. And in the work of alchemy, this understanding of this proto-scientific chemists were trying to play around with, is there an essential element? Is there essential elements that all things can be derived back into? And so that was the hypothesis of this. It was also a spiritual or philosophical understanding that even though there is many different particularities, maybe there can be a watering down, maybe there can be a way of alchemy that happens. So we see the term alchemy coming from the Arabic world and from certain Egyptian words and concepts. And I say, maybe we don't know exactly where the particularities and the mutualities of relationship come from, the trade and going to different places and travel. But we can thank these 2nd and 3rd century proto-scientists and chemists and mystics for their dedication to the craft of experimentation and playing. Alchemy was seen as like maybe taking lead and putting it, and maybe it could refine itself into gold, which we don't see that as possible, but still they were probably having some visions with playing with lead, but there was this mystical element of it that is still alive in our way of thinking, that maybe the material side didn't work out, but it started a conversation of what is this essential, what can be transformed to being alike, to being not separate. And it's a philosophical idea that we enact our faith principles, and in our faith principles and the essential inherent worth of all beings, right? Like there has to be this common thing or respect that we enact for the particularities, even though we are separate. So the way that alchemy was introduced to me was through my spiritual director, who is both a witch and contemplative. And she explained that we take what longs to be transformed and offer it to the gods to eat, learning that everything is energy, even these old thoughts and beliefs. It is a way of reclaiming and making particularity become a common ground for transformation to happen, like a phoenix, like a fire, like this refining imagery. And she said that practicing as if it were true, that the old things were no longer old, they were burning so that the new identity can be known. This is experimentation. This is being at one, being in the experiment and in the flow with higher power, God, goddess, whatever that name is for you. And the final stage of this alchemy, this spiritual transformation, is incorporating the new way of life as an embodied practice, to know oneself anew. And after introducing this to me and finding my way in this containment, this new idea, this idea that maybe hope and faith could transform what I thought could not be transformed, right? That idea that something new can take place. I moved in this process to be witnessed in a self-ordination and an initiation in the woods of Vermont with my spiritual director. In the beginning stages, I wrote out the messages and beliefs I hoped to bring to the alchemical fires. Beliefs like, God knows you better than you know yourself. Sex before marriage is a sin. Pleasure is selfish and sinful. God is always watching. To be good and worthy is to be pure and desirable. You are broken if you come from a broken home. God hears your thoughts. You ultimately can't know and must leave it up to God and God's judgment. To be good is to be a servant-hearted person and overextending yourself. I must be pleasing to the white male gaze, to be an effective leader, and so on. Do you know what all of these beliefs have in common? They all erode the place of trusting your intuition, your gut, and your fire. This is the shadow side of the church or institutions, and some of these are in the waters of society too. I lit them all on fire in this first stage, and the ashes became a part of the sands of my altar's fire. Letters still clinging to the pages amidst the sand. Through this practice of rewriting my beliefs around my intuition and trusting my pleasure mattered, my comfort mattered, my desires mattered, the boundaries around the way I serve matters. My thoughts are not who I am, and I am all of the thoughts, and they are all welcome, right? Those being able to make way for those nuances. And I can leave things up to my higher power and hand them over in prayer and meditation. I am also going to speak up if things aren't sitting right with me, to be active rather than passive in my leadership. And this was a way of intentionally reclaiming the fires and the desperate parts of me who desired to be and to believe something different. In the last stage, I went to the woods to vow that my ministry and the story of Eden that I am living through my life would guide my path. And I am my own containment, irrespective of other containment I might seek. That was about a year ago. And here I am today after that way of working. And I share this part of my story because I want you to reflect on the ways that maybe you lost touch with your center and your fire. Maybe remembering seasons of your life that might have been true. And how this season, with the earth seasons of heat, presence, you can practice this alchemy over the next month, allowing what has been stuffed down to come out, to allow the truth-telling to be a sacramental act, to be a sacred act of realizing what may come from these fires. Anger comes up and tells us when a boundary gets crossed. That is what the neutralist way to talk about it. It also may let us know that something is ready to burn, asking to be transformed. I grew up stuffing my anger down, believing it was wrong to be angry or to feel it, and it was not a feminine thing to do, to be angry. Be polite, don't get hurt, because it might give men permission to be angry too, and that means violence that the woman is responsible for avoiding. And I want to provide another example around that space as you are playing with this alchemy and playing with these archetypes of the feminine and the masculine. Because the masculine has been associated with these dimensions of fire to play, and I wonder what playing with the fire and the womb or the water, the feminine, could do in this time. I was working with a group to put together a church event, and I happened to be the only guy in the room at this time. And I also happened to be the newest member of the planning committee, so I didn't really know what was going on. And I suggested we do something. you know, and ultimately it was revealed that that was not the direction that we needed to go, right? Like, oh, and it was obvious to me. And instead of saying, of, you know, the more wisdom in the room with the women in the room saying, no, we aren't doing that. Instead of saying that, they said, you know, we could incorporate that, or we could think about doing that maybe next time. And I realized at that moment, early in my transition, that I was outside of the women's world, that I couldn't be told, no, that's dumb, or no, we're not doing that. They were taking care of my emotions, my ego. And, you know, I didn't know how to respond in that moment when I realized what was happening, because I knew that I was being treated differently, but yet I didn't know how to say, no, really, like, we can just forget that idea ever existed. We can just go ahead with your smart planning and and move on. And, you know, I realized as an outsider to this world, this knowing of women, that my feelings had now become associated with violence. You know, I knew this dance well as someone socialized to be a woman, that we learned to be responsible not only for our emotions, but also the emotions of the men in the room, because we didn't want violence to occur. And this is lopsided. This is not in alignment. And, you know, I conceded that it was a bad idea and we should definitely move forward with what they proposed. You know, my ego was not that fragile. But as a collaborator, I wanted to say I care more about the desired outcome than appeasing my ego by doing extra labor towards something that wasn't going to work. And bringing in the lens of alchemy, as I realized what happened, I'm now learning what it means to be a man. And it is to do the work of reassuring those that I'm working with that I care more about the relationship, the collaboration, and the connection towards the common goal than, you know, having the glory of having a good idea be actually a bad idea, right? It's nonsensical. And this means being self-aware when others are now taking care of my emotions, right? And there's a dance here in this alchemy, because it's a moving back and forth that maybe this is not, you know, set in stone for how all women or all men go to, you know, act in a social situation, but it's going down to the subconscious and seeing what are the things at play. How can I be reborn in this place and say, actually, you know, I'm really okay. You know, you can really share what you need to share with me, that this wisdom doesn't have to stay hidden. And your labor matters. You don't have to emotionally labor on the behalf of others. And yet I know, growing up as a woman, that that's what keeps you safe, that hypervigilance is always just a little there. And so these are some of the polls I invite you to think about, the alchemy, the transformation that might happen when we think about how we are enacting patriarchy, how we are enacting these things on the subconscious and the little levels that we do this. So with the phoenix embodying this transformation of fire and the wisdom of the womb, the rebirth, I wonder, as we look to make this happen, as the personal, as political, this link between where our power really lies and how to enact it. We are the place that transformation takes place, to evolve our consciousness, to see what we hope to see in this world. We can move differently. We can, you know, use all of these things, the heat and the fire without and the fire within, to bring the alchemy to these two desperate or seemingly uncommon places of transformation, and focusing our energy on how can I tap in to the dynamics at play, even in this role, even in my relationships outside of this church. How am I bringing that different way of knowing wherever I go? Because I think in these polarizing times, there's two poles, but there's a link there. There's a asking itself to deepen. There's a way forward that we haven't yet seen, but we are still figuring out how to honor the things we wish to honor, to bring the flame and the fire of who we are on behalf of the wholeness of all. Because we wouldn't be angry or sad or mad if things were okay, right? There is a boundary being crossed, and what the potential of our human world, of our collective, that isn't being met. And interdependency means we can move this anger, this fire, that it's not saying, oh, you're wrong, but saying, no, can't you see that there's something else happening here? There's a better idea to be had. There is a wisdom here to be uncovered. Over time, we see as the patriarchy has ruled, and we're burning that down. And also in the places of progressive spirituality, how can we be a womb space? How can we be a place that says, that's going to sort itself out, and we are birthing still something new? That new ideas and relationships can still be had, and progress can move us forward with this alchemy. May it be so. Now we will turn to our hymn, number 34. Thou I speak with my bravest fire.
Someone to pass the basket before, but I'm going to do it now. Okay. As Keith passes around the offering basket, I offer the gentle reminder that this community of faith is supported only by your giving. Stewardship is more than just financial donations. It is also about donating time and talent to help our church. If you can't write a check, please help our church survive and thrive by offering your time to help make coffee and bring snacks, serve as an usher, serve on other committees such as helping with worship on occasion, Please donate as you can with your time, talent, and/or treasure. All are needed for our church to prosper.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I love walking by you.
Also, if you give cash, please let us know who you are by filling out an envelope, although at this point I suppose it's all happened. If this is your first time here, don't worry, you weren't obligated to give, as we want this service to be our gift to you. If you are willing to donate your time and talent, please contact a board member and let us know what you would like to do and what you can do to help. Give what you will and what you are able, for you are a generous people. Please join me in our offering prayer. May this offering to inspire love and seek justice. And now it's time for our announcements. Okay, so today we have potluck. Yay! Next Sunday, Jennifer Lewis will be our speaker. On the 10th, it will be Robin Berkeley. This might be coming up again in church announcements, but we're also having a congregational meeting that day to vote on the budget and perhaps one other item. On the 17th, we will be visited remotely by Reverend Claudia Hall. August 24th, it will be Nathan's turn on the stage here. There is no setup for takedown. Well, there was setup today.
We had to set up today.
Yes,
but
there
we don't
was
have to
setup,
take down.
but we don't have to take down. Next week, we have to take down. Choir practice, will start on Sunday, August 17th. That might have to,
Is that the day you're
No.
having the meeting?
no.
The 10th.
When is the 10th? Okay, all right. So choir practice will start on Sunday, August 17th after church. And I don't know if there are more. Is that it? Is that it all? Okay. So I'm going to extinguish the chalice. Oh, and it's here, and I should have known because Amy was making sure everything was in its place. So I'm about to snuff this out. Please join me. The light of truth and we cannot be put out. We are the keepers of this flame until we meet again. Okay. And Eden.
As we go, may we tune in to these fires. May we know once again that we can turn towards them to see their wisdom for what they are and to ask them to lead us into a more truthful and authentic way of being with ourselves and each other. May this be so.